Hey, hi, Eric Levy. Thanks for joining in. Um, and everyone that is joining into this discussion. Yeah, I'm very, very glad to be speaking to you guys today. First and foremost, if you're new to this channel, please don't forget to subscribe. And if you have been here before, don't forget to share these conversations with your followings. Yeah, so I just want to do a little bit of audio test. So uh, I'm getting some feedback from my producer here. So, producer, how is the audio? Just let me know how the audio is flowing. Yeah, I have a producer here who is helping me work on these streams. So, as I keep working on this, so guys, don't forget to join into the stream. Please put your comments down. Also, don't forget to like this stream for the host. Yeah, so thanks a lot, guys, for joining in. I'm very excited to be talking to you now. Today, I have a very, very personal opinion that I think I need to be discussing because it is affecting us as youth, and also it's one of the things that we need to be giving serious attention to. Now, many of us have had an opportunity of getting employed in some organizations and of also being part of certain teams and certain companies that are already doing things. They are bigger than us, and sometimes we are given opportunities that are even bigger than our previous roles and our previous lives. So we get into these employment opportunities, and many times we get taken up by things that don't build us, by things that change our lives in a short run, and forget the long-term goal that we're supposed to be doing at these opportunities. So this is the discussion I'm going to have. The reason I love discussing these topics is I have been out of employment for the last 2.5 years, and there are things that I have learned, and I think they are going to be helpful to so many people that are yet to walk down that road. Now, first things first, if you're employed, the first thing you need to understand is employment is employment. Employment is not a permanent job, or employment is not a permanent residence for you. If you've been employed somewhere to work, you need to understand that you are not the only one that is going to be staying in that place forever. Therefore, it becomes very important as a person, as an individual, as you enter a company, as you take up an opportunity, to have a strategy of your own growth versus the company growth. And when I talk about own growth versus company growth, I don't mean that you become unjust to the company that pays you to stay in that job. But what I'm saying is don't don't use the opportunity you are given to burn the bridges. I want you guys to develop a culture of using your employment opportunity to build your networks. That is what it takes. That is what we all need to be doing. At the end of the day, where we have been working has a lot to do with what we do in our lives after. You either make it to life, or where you've been working sometimes can destroy you to fail to get the future opportunities that you have. So, in this sense, this is the broader discussion that I want to have today. But if you're already watching in, guys, give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment. Please put down a comment. Feel free to put down a comment. I'll read all the comments. I'll get all your feedback that you guys are going to send in. And this is a discussion we need to have right away. Now, I'll start with my personal story. And the reason I want to tell you my personal story is I want this to be real. I want this to be relatable. I want this you guys to look at it and know that, hey, this is not a movie. I'm not reading a novel. I'm telling you reality of what life brings. Now, for you to have an experience of something, you don't actually need to go through it 100 times. And this is what people forget, because many of us have experienced a lot of things in life, but sometimes we keep it to ourselves because we think other people maybe don't need it, or sometimes we actually fear to talk about our own experiences for reasons very well known. Maybe you think people will underestimate your potentials, or you think people will, say you're of low value, or people will laugh at the experience you've had in life. This is reality. About the beginning of 2018, I set out to leave my job, not because I was sacked, but I set out to leave my job because I had a passion, I had a calling that I needed to be doing something for myself to make sure that at least I leverage on my potentials to grow something that would see me use my potentials to at least bring something to the table and also develop a company that would help other brands make something out of social media. So in 2018, I wrote an email to my boss and said, hey, thank you for the opportunity you have given me in the last so many years. I think it is time for me now to move on to the next agenda. Now, I left at the beginning of 2018 and headed out to do some work with Tout Media. Now, Tout Media is a startup and it's a company that we're still building. But I took a leap of faith that if I don't create enough time for this brand, I would not actually be able to grow it, even if I had stayed in my employment for a long time. Because there is a difference between looking for money and pouring it into something and making that something start to bring money that you can reinvest to make the company bigger. So that is the leap of faith that I took. Now, a year down the road, actually it was about 3 months down the road, I was contacted by somebody that actually had a relationship with the company where I worked. They became my first clients that my startup worked on. Now, what does this teach us? What does this come to show us? This is a lesson to show you that the people that have known you where you have been become very important in your next life after employment. And one of the biggest things that I have seen as a challenge today is where youth get excited in employment. We do all sorts of things. We actually start to underlook people. We start to focus on things that do not reflect that employment is just a time thing. It's just something that we do for a given time as we actually step up to go on to the next thing. And this discussion is one that many people miss out on. I have seen so many people in government. I have seen so many people in NGOs. I have seen so many people in private companies that have been employed by other people. And what happens? These people use their offices, they use the opportunities they have got, they use the resources to burn the bridges, And this is a life destroyer. This is a life destroyer. I'll tell you guys, many people go into a state of depression. Many people go into a state of even wanting to commit suicide because they actually burnt the bridges when they had the time to create networks. And this is what makes a difference. No matter what you're doing, no matter how many people you're working with today, if you reach a point where you think you have started burning the bridges in that role, then it is much better for you to actually move out of that opportunity so that you leave a road, you create a path that can take you back to bigger opportunities. And this, I tell you, many companies will employ you today and they pay you less, but after many years, these companies can grow. That is where you hear that this person worked with us as an intern student or as someone that had come to do internship, and then we hired them as the CEO after 10 years. Now, this is the conversation we're supposed to be having. Many people take advantage of the given role. You see, the reason I'm bringing this discussion is at the beginning of the discussion between And no pun intended in this. No pun intended. I just read an update where somebody that actually I commented about a few weeks back, when this entire struggle of social media bullying and people using media spaces to attack other individuals, I commented about it and I said, employment is employment, no matter how much you are empowered. And I will repeat that statement, guys. For some of you that are watching this conversation, employment is employment no matter how much you are empowered in that office. Employment will never be your permanent residence. Employment will never be your permanent address. There is always a chain of people going through that same work. There is a chain of people going through that same office. When you get there, do not get too comfortable to forget to create a path that you can take after. And this is where many people actually end up burning the bridges and end up in a state of despair after they have lost their current jobs. Now, as many of you are watching in here, I want you guys to know that if it's not you, it's going to be your relative. If it's not your relative, it's going to be your friend. We're going through a very tough period of COVID pandemic. Many brands are not making as much returns as they used to before. And that means that there is quite a lot that is changing out of the normal schedule and out of the normal routine of businesses. So many people are going to lose jobs. Many people are going to lose payments, and many salaries are going to be cut. It's something that is going to happen. For those of you that are in employment, this is the time, if you haven't been doing it, this is the time to start thinking outside the box. This is the time for you to start thinking outside the box. This is the time for you to start to rewind the things you have done. It is never too late to clean up the messes you have created. Because at such a moment, you need everybody that has crossed your path while in employment for you to start a successful career outside. Whether you are an entertainer, whether you're a musician, whether you think you don't need people, you need clients that will come and support you. Your reputation that you create in employment has a lot to do with your afterlife, your after employment period. It has a lot to do. And what is going to happen in this period is many people are going to go solo. Many people are going to start their own things. Reason? Because the companies they are working for no longer have the opportunities. If they still do have the opportunities, many are going to get pay cuts. Now, if you're one that can't take a pay cut, you are actually going to be required that you either move on to a new office or a new employment opportunity, or you create something for yourself and start building a future. And this is what is going to happen. Now, for many of you, you may be stuck. You may be thinking, hey, I'm employed here, I've been here 3 years. But the things you have done in that opportunity are not ones that have been helping you to build a network, are not ones that have been helping you to build a relationship that is going to bring you an advantage beyond what you have had at the employment opportunity. Stop running your opportunities because you think the office you're running currently in employment empowers you beyond what you anticipated. And many of us have this problem. Many of us, I personally inclusive, when I just joined employment, I felt like, hey, I had now some bit of command. But then I remembered that I was employed. I'm an employee. I'm not having a permanent resident at this workplace. Whether I stayed 20 years or I stayed 25 years, time is coming for me to leave. Time is coming for me to leave. But hey, how do you leave? How do you live? That is the most important question. How is your mental status by the time you leave? What will happen if you're sacked? and you abused and tarnished everybody that was around you? What will happen if you sacked and you just sacked all your juniors? You created stories, false stories against them. They all got issues in their employment life because you were a bad boss. What happens when you get sacked? What will happen to the people around you? What will happen to your future opportunities? What will happen to that? I always keep having this conversation in my mind, and I'm thinking the time when I left employment and my first client happened to be somebody I worked with, happened to be somebody actually who was my boss at my former workplace. I keep thinking about it. I'm like, was this a coincidence that somebody I was working with who was my boss happened to give me the first opportunity after I left employment? Was there something deeper than I actually imagined? This is what many people forget to think about. And the repercussions are always deeper than many people actually anticipate. Now, back to the point that I want everybody to think about. Whether you're going to be getting into employment or you're going to be leaving employment, one thing that I want you to recognize and appreciate that employment has a lot to do in your life and in your career and in what path you take in life. That will never be eliminated. Whether you think you have accumulated a lot of money through your salary and you think when you leave employment you'll never need anyone, no matter what you're going to be starting, you'll need people to come actually and be part of your organization and support you. And then working for when we still have the opportunity to build networks. Never burn bridges because you have gotten power in the office where you have been employed. Now, being employed or self-employed does not also give you the power to, to treat everybody like rubbish. Does not give you power to underlook people, to make people miserable. It doesn't. But what I'm saying is, for somebody in self-employment, they have an opportunity to catch up with the mistakes they have made. Because self-employment requires that you build out a brand, you build out your line, you build out something you have started yourself. In employment, other people are going to come after you. Sometimes when you're kicked out, you don't have the time to clean the messes you created. The only opportunity you have to clean the messes is right now when you're still in that office, to make sure that you use this opportunity to build networks. To build networks. This conversation may not be relevant to you right now because you think that office you occupy is so huge. You have got a lot of power. You've got a private car. You've got a private guard. You've got a house where the company pays for you. You've got the insurance policy. You've got quite a lot of things, okay? You've got quite a lot of things going on. And you think you have arrived. The arrival into things you really never imagined that employment would bring to you. The moment you wake up and everything is just working out itself. That life is very, very good for you to lay out a network that will support you after that life. Let me tell you, my friends, no matter how many cars the organization gives you, no matter how many offices or how big your office is, whether it's at the top of the building or it's the first one from the first floor, what happens after you leave that office is almost 70% determined by what you did in that office. And when I say what you did in that office, I mean what actions you took, how you used your powers, how you used all the powers that you had to create change and build networks. The most miserable thing is being in light and being in a good space of employment. And then when you leave, depression and other mental disturbances kick in. They kick in not because you actually meant to get them. They kick in because you just can't imagine life without the goodies and all the good space you have had in employment. But most especially, people get depressed because they have actually created a lot of enemies. They have created a lot of pain for the people that were working around them, for the people that they associated with while in that employment role that gave them too much power. A number of people have failed to cope with life after employment simply because they misused their power. It's not a story that many people even die faster than they would have just because stress and other life factors start to catch up with them because of the power they misused when they still had the opportunity. I see a number of people who have organization cars. I see a number of people in government cars who drive recklessly on the roads. I see a number of people in government cars who find somebody sick on the roadside and they just can't take them to hospital. A number of people, it rains and somebody splashes water onto the pedestrians. For some people, they just cannot even give a lift to their workmates. You know what I mean? You leave the same office, you go outside the gate, or you're standing by the road waiting for a taxi or something. The guy that you work with in the same office drives by you. Not even to say, hey, where are you stopping so I can drop you? Hey, what's up? Where are you going? Maybe I'm passing here and there. Let's see if I can be able to drop you somewhere. This doesn't happen. For a few people, they do it because they, sorry about that, they know what it means. Okay? They do it because they know what it means. So because of that, others end up missing the opportunities they would have had to correct and make things right in the future. Okay? And this happens every single day. Now, when I talk about values, many of us join organizations and we taught cultures. We taught the culture of togetherness. We taught the culture of networking. We taught the culture of working together and making sure that we solve problems together. This is a very fantastic theory that almost all organizations have. But at the foundation of people working in these offices, many of them do not actually observe these things as stipulated out in the organization's business code of conduct or employee code of conduct. And what happens is, after people have been empowered, this happens. Even people, backstab others. People backstab. You find a junior working in the same organization. They have worked for 8 years, and this one individual just will not give them an opportunity to grow. Everybody that comes and they are new, this same junior is the one training them, and then they get a bigger role. This is what happens. Build bridges, don't burn them. Whether you're a boss today or you're employing someone, build something that will actually be a continuation of your success after employment. Many people don't think about life after employment. Many people don't think about it. Many people never think about the time when you lose that insurance cover. You never think about that time when you'll have no private guards. You never think about a time when you have no sirens walking with you. They don't. This conversation is not only for people who are employed in in private sectors. This conversation is for everybody, guys. It is for everybody. And when we talk about it, many people will tell you, hey, Yuga man, how long did you work for? I worked for only 6.5 years, and then I left to start my own thing. But the experience that taught me was huge. I just told you guys, I left my job. My first client was my former boss. And these scenarios happen to so many people. They happen to so many people. It's not only Yuga man that is in this scenario. A lot of you guys who are watching me now, you have been in these scenarios before. You have had your parents in those scenarios. You've had your relatives, your brothers, your friends in those scenarios. But what we need to understand is, how do we prepare the future of our careers, the future of our endeavors after employment? What do we have to do in employment today that makes a good stay after employment? That is what we need to be discussing. This discussion is basically known to say you shouldn't be doing what you do at employment. All I'm saying is, do everything you've got to do to serve your bosses so well, but do everything you've got to do in your personal capacity to build a network that will support you after employment. Failure to do that, my friends, no matter how many millions you have made, no matter how many cars have been given to you at the organization, when life changes, it's no longer your power in the employment. It is reality of you and the things you created while you had the power that will actually take a toll on you. You will start to ask yourself, why is everybody resenting me? Why is everybody not coming to support my business? But how many people did you support when you still had power? How many juniors in your office you supported to become bosses? How many bosses did you create? You did run a solo boss career. You never hoped anyone to become a boss. You only wanted to be the manager. Everybody else, you wanted them to be inferior and junior to you. If that is what you worked for, don't get shocked when everybody resents you after losing that power. For the guys that work in media, I always tell people that social media has taught me a lot. And I think when you have an open mind to learn, there is nothing impossible in life. Social media is a platform that can be used by everybody. It's a platform that many people use to build things, to help others, to support other people's businesses, but there are also those that use it to destroy other people's lives, families, relationships, careers. There are so many people that use it that way. The same thing happens to people working on radio stations, people working in the print media, people working on TV stations. You have so much power to appear before people every single day. You have so much power to write things that go out to the masses every single day. You have so much power to appear on a radio station and talk about issues in our communities every single day. That power has the capability to change people or to destroy community. And that is what people forget. Just like you have a Facebook page, just like you have a YouTube channel, the things you put out on your YouTube channel, they usually go out to your audiences. How you use that influence is actually what helps you to become a better individual in life or be shunned in life when some of the opportunities start to end. Recently, in a discussion I had with one of my friends, okay, I may not mention the name here for their own sake, but we had a discussion which I think was very, very touching. We talked about things that have been coming up and people ignoring them. We talked about the issue of mental health. We also discussed issues of rape. We discussed issues of cyberbullying, social media bullying, and we're trying to draw out scenarios on how people have struggled with all these painful experiences in life while nobody seems to be giving attention as they go through this pain. And if you focus back on how people get to these positions of pain, it has got a lot to do with the people that have been empowered. Because how bullying starts is people always think they have got more power than others, and that is why they would want to actually show it to everybody that, hey, I've got much more power than you have got, and therefore I've got to put you in your place. I've got to put you in your level. Other people use the opportunity they have to suppress those they think actually are not maybe moving with their own ideas and their own thoughts. And this is quite very common with people who have got the opportunity in media. They try to use that opportunity to ensure that they go down on people they are supposed to be helping, and then instead twist that arm and show them a lot of force because they want to prove a point. And that is where the whole situation of burning your bridges starts from. Now, if you guys are watching me and you have, or you currently employed, pay attention to the history of the organization you're working for. Pay attention to the history of people in powerful roles that have left. Because if you don't do that, it is going to be tough for you to learn what experiences people have when they have left powerful organizations. And a powerful organization can be as simple as the organization you work for. I just mentioned that the future opportunity you have starts to be built now. You start building your opportunities in the future now. It's not once or twice that we have had junior executives who have gone back to the organizations they worked 4 years ago to become CEOs, to become managing directors. It's not a new thing. And it is not magic. It is not rocket science. What it is taking your personal responsibility to make sure that you create a career that supports your future endeavors. And that is what it all takes. That is where we need to be thinking. That is the level that whether you are level 4, level 3, level 2, level 1 manager, you need to start thinking deeply on the repercussions that your current employment will bring on you if you misuse the powers that you have today. When we talk about mental breakdown, have you guys ever experienced somebody that left their job in a very good, healthy state, and a month later, you start to get stories and conversations that these people just could not sustain the pain they got after losing employment? It is true, and it happens to a lot of people. Now, the reason that happens to a lot of people is because while in employment, they never made those right connections that were supposed to support them after employment. And this is what I tell you, my friends. No matter what you're doing today, employment is employment. You need to remember that the opportunity you have today is not a permanent address for you. It is not. And it's not going to be. It is not going to be, my friends. So, we have got a responsibility. We have got a hidden responsibility as people employed in organizations, as people working for governments, as people working for NGOs. We have got a responsibility of making sure that we build networks that are going to support us after that life of employment, after that power is gone. When I talk about employment, I don't mean only people employed in private sector. I also mean the public figures. I mean the MPs, I mean the permanent secretaries, I mean all these people in the government structure who feel they have got too much power, that they want to show it to everybody, that they want to prove a point, they want to make everybody inferior. They want to use their sirens, they want to use their private guards to harass people, they want to take people's property by force, they want to show others that, hey, I've got power, so you're not supposed to be in my league. That creates a very bitter future. It creates a very bitter future. And the way we talk about things, you see, conversations are so funny that conversations are the softest means of talking about issues. But sometimes if these conversations have real things, it becomes a bitter fact to swallow in the future. We're in a moment where people are losing jobs. We're in a moment where companies are cutting paychecks. We're in a moment where organizations are downsizing. And it is understandable. It is understandable. It would be unfair for any of us to come out and say, why is this organization cutting jobs? Why is this organization downsizing? Why is this organization reducing the pay for their employees? It's understandable. We've been in a period that is so hard that it's almost hit every organization and everybody that is actually in the employment world so hard in terms of revenues, in terms of sales, in terms of being able to get resources. Transportation of resources has become so tough. Importation and exportation of goods has become so tough. So it is understandable. And no one is going to come out and say, why has organization A decided to cut employees? Because if you've got to sustain your work, if you've got to sustain your company, your brand, then you have got to take some decisions, strategic decisions that will make you survive in this period. That's very okay. But also, it becomes very important to prepare the people that you're going to cut off. Imagine a scenario where you cut off employees in this period where no company is hiring, where nobody is actually giving opportunities. How have you prepared your employees? How have you prepared your juniors that you want to fire? How have you prepared them? We're in a very tough period where everybody's worried about their next meal. Everybody's worried about what they're going to do next. So how have you prepared your employees to leave the company? How mentally have you set them up? How have you given them a small package to start with? Have you invited a counselor? Have you invited a peer coach to come and talk to them? This is what we mean by building networks. Sack somebody, but they should not feel the pressure that you sacked them because you didn't want them at a job. They should be able to understand. They should be able to pick the lessons that, hey, there's a problem here, there's a problem there, the company needs to survive, so I'm going to step away, or the company has laid me off because there is this need. That is what we call building networks. Building networks is not waking up and you sack people on mail. Building networks is not waking up and you sack all your juniors because you think you're the only one supposed to remain in employment. Building networks means bringing all these people and letting them understand the current situation that is prevailing, and also to understand that, hey, if I am leaving this organization, I am not leaving it because I have been sacked by my boss who doesn't like me, or because I have been sacked by my manager who actually thinks the job is better for their son or the job is better for their sister, so I have to be sacked. That is the conversation that you're supposed to have. So building networks in employment is not only about saying you make friends, okay? And many of us also make friends at workplaces just because they're the people closest to us. But we never make genuine friends, some of us. Some of us actually, we pretend that we like the people we work with, but deep down we actually don't like them. And it reflects so hard. I'll tell you guys, I have been bothered by a very strange story about CBS and the sports analyst, the sports guy who used to work with CBS FM. I am thinking in my mind that the bosses of this guy, the bosses, what were they thinking about when this guy left and has health issues now and he can't be helped? I'm wondering, as somebody that they employed, as someone that Yusuf Baliruno, actually, that's the name, as somebody that they gave a job to, and he got to leave the job because he had a healthy situation, and he left. But I get so astonished. I get so emotional to learn the fact that this guy dedicated his entire life when he was healthy to serve CBS FM. If you guys are watching this video and you know someone that works at CBS FM, please cut out this part and send it to them. It is deeply touching. It is deeply touching. And I will tell you guys, it is emotionally disturbing to learn that an organization that has bosses, an organization that has culture, an organization that has a structure can make people work for them for the longest time and not give them what they have worked for to survive after they have left the brand. It's very disturbing. And if you guys know the bitter truth that employed people spend almost 90% of their entire life in employment without doing other things. Because many organizations that employ people, do not give their employees a lot of time to focus on their personal growth and to focus on their personal endeavors. So you find someone working their entire life for this one organization only to be forgotten and also not to be supported when they need the support. This is very, very painful. When we talk about building networks, you're only not building networks with your clients. You're also building networks with your workmates. You're building networks with other partners. Sometimes you're going to leave the organization you're working for, and another partner who was associated with your former employer is going to give you a job. But that is not going to happen if you forget to cultivate the relationship that I have talked about. If you think that, hey, being on this space makes me a king, and then I've got to torture everyone, I've got to destroy images, I have got to destroy lives, I have the power now. I have the power to make everybody miserable. If you are in that league, it's just a matter of time. You're just going to have very small time, guys, and it's going to catch up with you. It's going to catch up with you. It's a time to wake up. It's a time to think about what bridges you have built. It's a time to think about how many relationships you have created. It's a time to think about what people are going to help you if you leave your current position. Whether you're in government, whether you're in a private setting, whether you're doing something for yourself, this is the time to go back and think critically. This is the time to review how your relationship is with the people you are working with. No matter how much your salary is, no matter how many cars you have that are given to you by the organization, no matter what hospitals you're going to as an employee that is on insurance covers, all that is just temporary. All that doesn't last forever. What lasts forever is yourself and the people and the networks that you have built. I know bosses who left government and their sons today just cannot find a job. I know ministers' kids that are sleeping in bars. I know ministers' kids that are doing drugs. I know ministers' kids that have studied and even failed to complete a degree. And people look at them, but people don't feel attached to them because maybe the father or the people who are actually behind them never took the responsibility of building networks that would support them. And this is how we become selfish. We become selfish when we become managers. We become selfish when we become powerful figures in society. All we think about is I, and forget that there is somebody out there. That there is someone that our good behavior, our supportive nature, our good heart to wish others well, to promote others to bigger roles, to help others succeed, who are not our sisters, who are not our tribemates, who are not our brothers. This is what we need to be doing. Many of us are doing the opposite. We get excited when opportunities come and start to make everybody feel the pain because, hey, we've got to show you that we've got the power. You're on a radio station, and every day you're on a radio station, there is this one guy that you're trying so hard to fight to fail. You're on a TV station, and every time you're on a TV station, there is this one person that you're trying to fight so hard to fail. That ain't gonna build you. It ain't gonna build you. We go to social media. We come to social media and people say, hey, you're an influencer. But the influencer is always trolling. You're always attacking. You're always body shaming. You see, being an influencer is a good thing. And when you start influencing others, doesn't mean you are at the apex of your career. It doesn't happen like that. It means use that influence to even build a wider network. Negative energy driven towards others because of the current state of power that you have is a very, very big danger to your future endeavors. Whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on your WhatsApp, whether it's on YouTube or Twitter, the power you have now is what actually you're supposed to use to build a bigger future. No matter how many followers you have, no matter how big your platforms are, no matter how many people listen to your TV show or watch your TV show or listen to your radio show, you have got to think outside the box, my friends. This is what everybody needs. Your current status, your current power is what you need to build a bigger platform for yourself. The world is changing so fast. The internet doesn't forget. You may be doing something thinking people are going to leave you, people are going to forget what you're saying, but in the end, people don't forget what you do. But people forget and try to actually erase you out of their mind if you make them face hell at a time when they needed your support. Everybody that has been tortured mentally, psychologically, financially, physically, they try as much as possible to forget those experiences. What people never try to forget or always try to remember are the good things people have done for them. And this is what we all need to be thinking about. Using your social media platform to pull down a relationship because you had someone that maybe you hated, or because you separated with someone and you think you're so powerful in society, so you need to destroy the other partner, that will rain back on you. The life that you're destroying has got a life to support. The parent that you're destroying to leave a job has got kids to take to school. The mother that you're attacking has got someone to support. So all these challenges that you cause because of your current state of power is a big danger to your future endeavors and future opportunities. So as I wind up this conversation, I want you guys to remember that we are in a very, very tough period. And this period doesn't actually recognize any powers because, like you know, flights have been stopped. Trains are no longer crossing borders. Everybody is staying at home. Everybody is staying in their towns. Everybody is staying in their nations. People are not traveling. Meaning, it is a bigger problem that is affecting everybody. Organizations are no longer making as much money as they used to do before. And it is a fact. Companies are going to downsize, but how prepared are you to face the next world? What have you done with the current power you have had to face your next future? That is the biggest question. Do not mind about how many people love you. Mind about how many people you love. That is what counts. Because you're never going to know how everybody is loving you. But you know deep down in your heart how many people you love. And genuinely you know how many people you've wished well. How many people you've helped reach their dreams. How many people you've supported to reach their apex in their careers. How many people you've worked with to support them in their startups and make them successful. These are the memories you're supposed to have in yourself as we go through this period. This period is going to be tougher. It's going to be tougher, guys. It's going to be tougher. And if you've been one that has been misusing your power, it's going to be very tough for you. But it is not too late. It's not too late to adjust how you have been spending your time. It's not too late to adjust how you've been using your social media to bring down people. It's not too late to improve. Let me tell you, the most important image you need in life is to move from bad to good. Is that image that you need. Because it is very easy to move from good to bad. Sometimes you forget certain things and you move. Recently, I'm seeing a lot of celebrities across the world. Because of the Black Lives Matter, history is coming to bite them. People are resigning every single day. People are pulling out emails that are having elements of racism, having elements of nepotism, tribalism, and all that. But these stories happened 50, 20, 25 years, 10 years ago. And it is coming back to bite them. This is something I tell you today. When you use your social media to let down a life, to bring misery on other people, it's a round world, guys. It's a round world. You're not going to do anything out of this space. It's going to come back to you. It's going to come back to you. The examples of the Kevin Harts and everybody, you saw how he was affected. He couldn't host the Grammys. Just because of a few reckless statements that he made when he thought he was still a small figure. Little did he know he would become a global figure and then get defeated at a new job that he was given. Okay? And that is where we need to be. We need to work towards making things better for ourselves. We need to work towards building networks that will support us after employment. That is what we need to be doing. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. And for those of you guys that have sent in your comments, much, much appreciated. Go ahead, guys. Let's have these discussions. Let's support one another. Let's bring up conversations that can make some bit of meaning. Let other people learn from our experiences. No matter what you have done, no matter what you're doing, whether you're making juice or pancakes or you're a shop attendant, so long as you think you are successful at what you do, hope other people learn from you. That is how we're going to build ourselves. That is how we're going to build a network that will instead support us in our future endeavors. So much love and respect to you guys. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up for this conversation, and also don't forget to share, and also to subscribe. God bless you all. I'll catch you guys tomorrow.